dragon's mouth and fans themselves. Stay tuned, you might just uncover something unexpected. It's time for the
Howdy, everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of the 2024 Dragon Con Report. I'm your host, Mike Gordon, and I'm pleased to introduce you to the rest of our station crew. Jen is with us. Howdy, Jen.
Hello.
Howdy. And Channing is here, too.
Hello, hello. There are other podcasts out there, but they ain't like us.
So it is official, I guess, that we are now just shy, as we're recording this, less than 100 days left to Dragon Con. And
I have 99. So.
Yeah, and that does not sound like nearly enough time, does it?
It is not. It is not at all.
What it seemed like something happened from last month where it was like, oh, it's still far away, to this month where it's like, holy crap, it's here before we know it.
Correct. It seems like it just goes by quicker every year. It's like when you hit February, then you blink and it's Christmas. It's kind of becoming the same way with Dragon Con.
Absolutely.
It's here sooner and sooner.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on a fabric order to come in the mail, and then I need to cut out the fabric. And
I mean, we're going to talk all about vending and the experience in the AmericasMart, particularly in the comics at Pop Artist Alley. We're going to
fingers crossed we are.
Yeah, we're gonna we're gonna talk to some. Yeah, we've got scheduled anyway. We've got some, because who better to talk about Artist Alley than a couple of writers, right? So let's talk.
There you go. Yeah. It'll be fine.
So we'll have some. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We got some news that there may be some technical difficulties. We'll say, right? But hopefully we can work those out. In the meantime. I did want to let everybody know that, just some news here and some notes and the normal business, of course. We are an unofficial podcast of the con. We are not and never have been officially connected with Dragon Con. For all the official news, we strongly recommend checking out the official site, social media outlets, their town hall, which they just recorded a few days ago. Their second one, actually. They've recorded 2 in the last, since we last came to you with our little unofficial report. So check all of that out for official news. We are a proud member of the ESO Network here at the Dragon Con Report. On the ESO Network page, there's a direct link to all of the TeePublic stores filled with cool swag, including a very cool design for the Dragon Con Report podcast. We also have a Patreon page where supporters can access our exclusive reading of this month's Dragon Con guest announcements. And there are a lot of guest announcements.
Some
big
really
names.
Wild names.
You can also hear the previous month.
Absolutely. And the month before that. So you can hear all of if you just want to get loaded
or just have a giggle,
we've got you covered. So that is exclusively to our patron members. There's so many guest announcements that have been made over the last month, and they're getting the names are getting bigger and bigger. So we are insulting more and more higher profile people, we could say. Maybe
pronouncing more names that more people know how to pronounce correctly.
True, and can call us out on,
Yes.
So
calling us out on it.
So yes, it does make the perfect drinking game for all ages, depending on what's in your cup, right? So thank you, patrons, for all your support, whether you're listening to that or not. We really do appreciate you guys supporting us. And welcome to all our viewers on Facebook or YouTube, however you're watching us. The audio version of our show is still available in all the usual places. And in addition, you can access past episodes at DragonConReport.com. And that's not just this year. You can access past episodes of the last, I think we've been doing this for 10 years now. So you can access 10 years of Dragon Con Report nonsense. However you access our show, please like, share. We really do appreciate it. Subscribe. Click that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. And if you want to leave us direct feedback or comment on the show, please email us at feedback@dragonconreport.com. And you can reach out to us. We're also available on Facebook, Instagram, and I think that's the 2 main social media outlets we're using. So we're exploring other avenues, but those are the 2 that I think you could definitely find us at. So, yeah, we'll get started with some news and notes. There's not a ton of news. We all, obviously we start with the basic information that DragonCon is going to take place August 29th through September 2nd. And yes, in case you want me to repeat it, that's less than 100 days away.
Everybody panic.
It's like our big red alert. We need one of those red alert alarms, like, and everybody run around screaming, right? So that is there you go. That's a big slap in the face. That's like a big splash of water on my face. That's just saying, like, hey, Mike, you really need to start getting ready. You really need to start getting ready. As a person who's going to have stuff at my table, books to sell, et cetera, need to really make sure that those are going to happen, and everything else is involved with that. And we're going to talk. We do have some people waiting. Great. So we're going to talk to some people about what it takes to have a table at DragonCon in AmericasMart, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And how soon you have to prepare for that. And that's going to be pretty exciting. So those are the dates. 5-day memberships are still $160, and that will be the case until June 14th. And that is, again, a 5-day membership. That's just, that's still an amazing deal. People are asking about partials or single day tickets. Those will be determined in July, and they will probably won't be available, if at all, until August 1st.
Yeah, I always tell people just get the full pass.
Just make sure you're covered.
It's easier. Yeah, it's worth it. And like you said, even at what is it, 160 now, it's still a good deal when you think about all that you're getting.
Well, and the 1-day memberships are the one bit of news we did get from the last town hall, because the question was asked if any will be available, because they're gonna judge how many of the 5-day memberships sell throughout the summer. But if they are going to make any available, they won't be deciding that till the end of July. And if we follow previous years, then yeah, they would hit the store August 1st. But they won't even be announcements about that until right before they're gonna be put in the store in August.
Yeah, and they've also mentioned, and we'll get to a little bit more information about what was covered in the town hall, says brief summaries. But there's going to be, it sounds like they're just getting started announcing big celebrity guests, and so they're going to do that throughout the summer. My understanding is they are going all out or all in, if you want to call it that, because sounds like there's going to be some big names coming. And with that being said, you have, if you wait till August 1st to get a 1-day pass or something like that, it might be too late. So yeah,
no, it will be too late at that point. Yes. If it is,
yeah. Regarding some other dates, media applications are still open. The deadline for that is still August 15th. And as of 2 weeks ago, parade signups are still open, but almost full. All applications will be reviewed after registration closes. Do we know when that closes? Is that
they have not announced a date. In the parade group, they've just said it's almost full, and they'll be closing it soon.
Gotcha.
Right.
Because I checked in there for updates today, and so that was the last post.
And speaking of closing soon, guest applications are only open, or will only remain open till the end of May, the end of this month. So if you know someone who wants to be a guest, if you want to be a guest, if that needs to happen in the next week or so. Yes. There is a date on the Comics and Pop Artist Alley that says June 15th is the deadline, but I'm skeptical of that, because I think that DragonCon is going to take the application off at the end of May. So it's going to be much more difficult to put in an application if the application's not available online. So
that's a bit of a loophole, yeah.
So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's going to be much more difficult. So definitely, if you want to get the guest applications in, now is the time to do that. Do not wait. fan tables applications are still open, and of course, volunteer applications are still open. They are still massively calling for all kinds of volunteers. So you can get the information for that if the official site. The next volunteer meeting is not scheduled until July. But let me tell you, so we don't know exactly where the needs will be until then. Then they're really specific on where the needs are. But believe me, like they're all departments need volunteers right now. So I would, if you're interested in participating, and they did do a really good job, I think, in the town hall, in one of the town halls, talking about that. Our good friend Mo, who we had on our show last month, was the host of, or one of the co-hosts of the first town hall meeting, and he was talking about the volunteer process there and how vital it is to how this show runs. And so yes, and also that sometimes it seems like it's a scary commitment, like, oh, I don't want to volunteer because then I won't enjoy the show. I want to enjoy the show. And he's like, no, you're not going to be volunteering 24/7 for 5 straight days. You will have time to enjoy the show.
Yeah, and it's been my experience and the experience talking to others. The track directors, they will work with you, trying to schedule as much as you can. My wife has been a volunteer in the past. She's kind of said, hey, here's the 2 or 3 things I'd like to do. And they would definitely try to work with her. So if it's also good if you just kind of want to dip your toe into Dragon Con, just kind of, volunteer, do something that you like, and then you kind of get to wander around and experience a little bit of it. So you get as much as you give when it comes to volunteering. Actually, you get more at this point.
Dip your toe. I mean, I don't know. Dragon Con is just like push in the deep end.
You've got a few people. They want to, you can't throw them all into the Shark Tank.
I don't think there's sharks in there, but but man, you better learn pretty quickly how to swim. But no, it's not that bad. And I certainly don't want to scare anybody away from participating, because that is something that even though I'm participating in a different way, I will say the Dragon Con experience for me, and I've been going for over 10 years as an attendee, but the Dragon Con experience for me just opened up in multiple ways that I never expected since I started participating. And I would definitely encourage people to do so. So yeah, that's the volunteer information. And we keep mentioning the town hall again. There were 2 town hall meetings online. One was April 18th, and that was hosted by Dot, Mo, Teddy, and Caitlin. We appreciate their efforts in doing so and getting us information. Basically, they covered guests of honor, which we covered in our last episode as well. Talked a little bit about who
He jinxed us when he talked about technical difficulties earlier. Mike brought out the gremlins.
Okay, well, Mike is unfreezing. We'll take over a little bit. He can come back and talk about the town halls.
packs. Are these things that you guys are familiar with?
Did he just randomly come back on? Mike, you
Yes.
froze, and we heard nothing
Nothing.
over the past 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, what? Have I been frozen?
Yes,
I hadn't. I was not frozen on this side.
you're
Oh my goodness.
you're really currently blurry.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, looks
Yeah.
like your connection is like 2400 baud modem.
Yeah, you might want
Goodness
to
gracious.
pop out and pop back in, because your audio is also not matching up with your face. Live streaming, folks.
Wait, I feel like this calls for a drink.
But well, he's frozen again. Okay, so we can talk a bit about some of the guest announcements we've been excited to see the past few days, because we are now getting to that point where more people are
Yes.
going to be announced. I think it's pretty cool that we have a whole slew of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle voice actors coming, like
Yes.
Rob Paulson, Cam Clark, Barry Gordon. That's very cool for the people who
Awesome.
grew
Yeah.
up with that cartoon. And of course, they've voiced many other shows as well.
Right. And I feel like you're going to be hearing Cowabunga yelled a lot during the con because of that. But yeah, I mean, Rob Paulson, he's honestly one of my favorite voice actors because you don't realize how much he's done. Then
Yeah.
you look at his IMDb page, DP page, and it's like, oh, wow.
Or
Okay.
when you see their booth in person and they have the
Yeah.
banner with all the characters.
Right. And the banner's like 5 mile long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, am I good now? Can you guys see me and hear
Yes.
me now?
Yeah, we're
Oh,
good.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll finish the guest part and then we can go back to the town hall.
Right.
But speaking of groups of actors, we also I think what are we on the 25th anniversary of Roswell? I think it's the 25th.
something
25th
Yeah,
or
it's been a
28th, something like
while.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've had quite a few Roswell actors, and not the reboot, the
No,
original.
not the reboot.
Yeah, the
yes.
OG. Right.
So I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it seems to be a thing that they are, and I think they've done this a little bit over the years, but it seems like this year they're really concentrating and focusing on reunions and getting groups of like certain fandoms, celebrities that represent certain fandoms, and
Which
I think
that's
really cool.
fun, you know.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it's always
absolutely.
great to see, you know, one or two actors, but when you can have a group of people who work together,
Right.
yeah, you know, and
Yeah.
seeing them bounce off of each other and the familiarity, I think
Yeah.
that makes the experience even more fun.
Yeah, especially when the cast gets along. Like, somebody like the cast of Firefly, or if they please would bring the cast of Eureka. I think that would be great because they just
Yeah,
have so much fun together when they're talking. So hopefully the Roswell folks will be like that.
yeah,
Yeah, especially when they're doing shows like Roswell, which you don't hear a lot of people talking about. I mean, even with the remake when it came out, I mean, I was a big Roswell fan, and I enjoyed that series a lot, and yet I don't see it referenced that often.
I did not enjoy the reboot.
I
Very
did
few
not see the
people did.
reboot. Did anybody? Was it a complete reboot, or was it a continuation? Was
I
anybody
gave
putting
it 2 episodes and I stopped.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see that they're coming. And I don't know if Roswell's ever been represented at Dragon Con.
yeah, I don't remember seeing any of the announced actors in since I've been attending.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
But I'm also doubtful that I could remember everyone who's attended in the years that I've been going either. So
A couple of Smallville actors they announced as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Our very own Lana
yeah.
Lang
So
will be there. Yes.
and
yeah.
lower decks. We've gotten Tawny Newsome and Eugene Cordero.
My two
So
favorite lower deckers, actually. So
yeah,
I
well,
mean, if they work in Mariner, I'll be happy. Now,
we have Tawny
Mama
Newsome.
Mariner.
I was like, we have Mariner. But Mike, now that you're back in 4K, do you want to finish what you were saying about the town halls?
Yeah, I could do that. Sure. The town halls.
So we got to the guest of honor part,
the guest of honor.
and you
Yes,
talked about Mo. Although
right.
I don't know if you got to his achievement.
No, I don't think
so.
I did. So, yeah. They talked about the guest of honors, which we covered in our last episode, and yeah, they announced that Mo was voted the highest rated moderator in the app of last year, which I think is awesome.
Yes, congrats, Mo.
So
Yeah,
yes,
congratulations.
absolutely. And I don't know who he kicked out of the top spot, but they didn't announce that. But I think, yeah, but they did say it was close. It was a close vote. But what's more important about that is that is fun information to have for sure. But what's important about that is that they do pay attention to the app. They do pay attention when you rate and you comment on events and panels through the app. So please, I always encourage people whenever I do a panel that, go to the app, let them know what you liked, what you didn't like. As far as the panels that I'm concerned with, it's 5 stars if you liked it, 5 sarcastic stars if you didn't. So we can we can continue to make that happen. So I wish I could take the credit for that one, but that one I think I'm not sure who I heard that from, but it was somebody else much wittier than I am.
Yeah, and I've heard that from track directors and from performers. They take the feedback seriously. I think at least one track has gotten moved to a bigger space because of feedback that they've gotten in the
Yes,
past.
that's true.
Certain guests. So yeah, your feedback matters to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, so definitely you know, and that opens up a bunch of questions as to when the app's going to be ready and all that kind of stuff, which, you know, that's another drinking game. I don't know if is that our drinking game too? Oh, sure, why not, right?
Everything's a drinking game if you try hard enough.
So, um the other thing that they mentioned that I was not aware of, they did talk a little bit of Dragon Con merch, which was the sticker packs. Apparently the first release of sticker packs are available now. I don't know if they're still available, but certainly they were available during the announcement of the first town hall, and they're going to release a second pack of stickers, and each one of those packs may or may not include a sixth variant sticker.
I got a variant last
I
year
like it.
Did you?
Okay.
for
Now,
pack one. So
is the variant the same in all, like in like, so it's not a different variant?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's like don't even need to go down the speculation. I have no idea.
Gotcha.
I'm not the one to
Gotcha.
ask.
So I
Ask-
should
Ask
have
the
known.
store people.
Did you have to make multiple attempts before you got a variant? Or did you-
I just bought 2 sticker packs.
Gotcha.
So
And
'cause
was
I
that
was
online, or did you get those?
No,
at
I
the-
got I get my merch from the store right after right at the right when it opens on Thursdays.
Gotcha. So they were available last year, and
That's where they debuted. Yes.
Okay. So
Okay.
they debuted last year. There's still there may still be some available in the store. If they are not, they did make it clear that once they're gone, they're gone. They're not going to keep reprinting the volume
Right.
1 of the sticker packs.
Okay, and Zan says there was one variant.
Yeah, gotcha. And she says also that they're still available online. So get them now, and hopefully you'll get a variant. Good luck. May the odds forever be. It's sort of like the hotel, right?
Well, no, all this talk of variant stickers, now I kind of want Dragon Con to do trading cards like Pokemon. And people can just like have battles with different Dragon Con memes and trends.
Well,
So yeah,
Chuck would have to be a card.
oh, definitely.
The band
Definitely,
hammer.
definitely. Yeah, that one's a given. Yeah.
That would be that would start its own cult. You know, that is something that I think Sven could handle. Like that is something.
No, it's Sven. I don't think Sven's ever going to do cards again. As most of the people we know who have done like trading card games, Sven and Ruckus Tees, it's a pain.
Yeah, I can imagine. No official, of course, you know, Sven is unofficial, but doing what he's doing with the Drunken Dragon, he's got the I think his VIP group is still available. Yes, is still available, and his store is open. Right. So
yes, and he's been adding. He opened a week and a half ago, and then he added more stuff this past weekend, and he's adding more stuff in 2 weeks, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it seems
The
like he's
man
always
works
adding.
hard.
Always adding.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of those items are limited, right? So limited
Yes.
numbers, so availability. So if you like something that he's doing, grab it while you can, because you never know when they might be gone.
Yeah, but you know, though there will also be some things you can get now, but he will also have them available at his booth in AmericasMart.
Gotcha. The only other thing that I noticed in I noted in the first town hall meeting was that in addition to, and we mentioned these guests too, but there's a whole slew of Baldur's Gate voice guests, and that is in celebration of D&D's 50th anniversary, which I think Dragon Con is doing a little bit more about this year as well. So that was in the first town hall meeting. The second town hall meeting was just a few days ago. It was just May 16th. Caitlin was there as well as Tony P, and Teddy was there. Teddy is like the rock star of the of those. I'll tell you what. And also Crispy and Tony, and they were joined by also Eddie McClintock, who was just recently named as not only a guest, but once again co-host of The Masquerade. They focused, they also had the director of costuming, Lee Cox, on there, and they focused on the costume contest, which there are like, I think they counted them up. They're like 1 billion costume contests,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's a conservative estimate. Yeah.
Obviously, the big one is the Masquerade. That's the one that's been going on for 30 plus years at Dragon Con. But there are several others. Some of them are official as part of the tracks. Others are not official. But is that something, Jen, that you guys cover in the events group too?
No.
About contests? No, not specifically.
No, because we're parties, meetups, and more. But no, if somebody asks about them, we direct them to where to find it. But I think most people are not coming to the group to get a schedule of all the costume contests.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and I can only put so much time into making a calendar.
Absolutely.
Jen, you got to remove the and more then, because and more that just implies.
Well, technically the and more is for music, really. We do parties and band performances, informal meetups, or
and we could specify that and more music stuff.
Con crawls, stuff like that. But we don't list the photo shoots because there's over 200 photo shoots.
That's true.
There's another group dedicated to that, and they do a bang up job of it.
Yes, you all are doing the Lord's work, keeping track of all of that.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, if you are interested in participating in a contest, then seek out the actual group that's putting on that contest and find out more information that way. Because even the town hall folks were like, we can't track all of this information. It's just too much. No. It's just too much. So if there's a specific, almost all the specific different tracks have a contest sometime. Various prizes are involved. I was kind of surprised. The Masquerade is $500, which is pretty, I mean, in some cases, I'm sure that's just a drop in the bucket when it comes to the cost of some of those costumes that I've seen.
Exactly.
But yet that seems pretty sizable to me. That's like one night at a host hotel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little prize. And I feel like that should be next. They should offer up a hotel room or something. Then
people really be falling over themselves.
Yes. I will put a towel around my neck and say I'm Superman just for a shot.
But they also said that the Friday contest, I guess they're trying to swing more people that way as well. That one is also going to have a prize of $500. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. And that, I think, was most of the information. They also talked a little bit, of course, about MomoCon, which is their sister convention, which is coming up this weekend. As people are listening to this, it's Memorial Day weekend here in Atlanta. It is a massive show as well. Probably, I would say, maybe the second or third biggest convention here in the Atlanta area, if I'm not mistaken. I know Anime Atlanta is pretty big too. So Anime Weekend, I think that's what it's called, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't live there.
I know.
Anime Weekend Atlanta.
So those are I think the three biggies, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, yes, for those people who are enjoying MomoCon, and they've added wrestling to MomoCon as well this year, so that's pretty interesting.
Well, hey, speaking of wrestling, we can tease this a bit. Next month, here on the Dragon Con Report, our topic of the evening is actually going to be Dragon Con wrestling, and we hope to have a good showing from people involved with DCW. So, that's something to look forward to, folks.
That's right.
We'll
drop that reminder button so you'll know.
That's the bottom line, brother. Sorry, I'm mixing up all my wrestlers. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We're gonna all have Slim Jims. So that's a teaser, and also we did go over some of the guest announcements. We are going to have more of a comprehensive list exclusively on our Patreon page. So look out for that. That's going to be released as soon as
probably
this episode's released.
No, not as soon. I mean,
Whoa,
this
whoa.
episode is live.
The audio. The audio version.
When the audio version. That'll be a few days. But now that we're all caught up, perhaps we should take a quick little break and then get to tonight's topic at hand and bring on our guest.
Absolutely.
I like that idea.
And we are back. Thanks for remaining with us, all you audio fans. And for those people who are still with us on video, thank you guys so much for continuing to be with us. We are now going to we have actually our technical issues will continue, but we do have one guest joining us. So we're going to bump him out of the green room if that will work and see if we could talk to Greg Burnham. Greg, how you doing, man?
He's muted.
He is muted.
I am no longer muted.
There we
go. Well, welcome to the Dragon Con Report podcast. We are glad to have you with us.
Hey, awesome to be here.
Tell us, Greg, about a little bit about what you do and also how long you've been experiencing Dragon Con.
So I'm a comic book creator, writer. I am not good at art, so
it's okay.
I like to get that out the way early. But yeah, writer, publisher. So I normally have props on my desk at all times. So co-creator along with Marcus Williams.
Nice.
A comic book called Tuskegee Airs. I've also I have like 3 or 4 independent series. I've done stuff with DC Comics. Over the last 12 months, I've actually been in 3 different anthologies. So one was Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun. And I was looking for that prop, but it's not here. But yeah, it's the Halloween anthology from 2023. And I did a Superman story in there. I did a Mr. Terrific story in DC Power. And I brought Mr. Terrific to Atlanta.
Nice.
So, yeah, and I'm just, constantly, doing more comic work. I also write children's books. I have a new one called Swim Kelly Swim that is doing pretty well right now. So what year is this? I stopped keeping track with years after the pandemic.
I don't blame you for that at all.
Yeah,
I don't blame
no
you for that
judgment
at
here.
all.
None.
So yeah.
So I think I've been tabling at Dragon Con since I want to say 2018, maybe 2017.
Okay. And yeah, I wanted to talk to you about more of the specifics of that. And first, I just wanted to, and unfortunately, a couple of people that I wanted to talk to have been doing Dragon Con for a while, and they couldn't join us. But I wanted to go over just a complete, just a really brief history. I mean, obviously, you can look this stuff up on Wikipedia and the web and everything. But of course, we know that Dragon Con was founded in 1987, and vendors and exhibitors and Artist Alley, I think, have been part of Dragon Con since day one. Now, I was introduced to Dragon Con in 1994. I moved to Atlanta just after Dragon Con was in the summer of 93. So I missed the 93 one, but I have not missed one since 94. And this was a much, much smaller show. The exhibit hall, the dealer's room, and the comic book artist alley were all located in one room, the Grand Salon Ballroom in the Atlanta Hilton on the 2nd floor.
And to get to it, you had to walk uphill barefoot through the snow.
There were over 200 exhibitors, dealers, and publishers in that one room. And I thought it was amazing. I thought it was the big, I had never seen anything like it before. I had been to a few conventions, smaller shows, more Star Trek themed shows like Volcon before that, but I had never seen anything that had all my interests. My wallet was never tugged on so hard than when I walked into that room, because they had everything. And and so they was there for a few years. In 1997, they took over a convention center called the Inforum that was downtown, and that's where most of Dragon Con was held, in the Inforum, and that, I think, became part, if not all, of AmericasMart. So the next year, a lot of it took place in AmericasMart, and then in 1999, it took place in the Merchandise Mart and the Apparel Mart. There's a lot of different kind of marts downtown. So, and then in just after 2000, the turn of the century, goodness gracious, we're old. I'm old. Sorry. I'll own that. The 2001 was my first, by the way, was my first time guesting, having a table at Dragon Con. 2001 was, and we were in the Hyatt in Artist Alley. It was one of the bottom floors of the Hyatt. It was the Artist Alley room was next to the art show. So all of the art was together in one sort of huge area, which was very nice. And a lot of people still miss that. In I think it was 2013 is when they moved a lot of the vendors to AmericasMart. And then in 2016, they moved Artist Alley, Comics Artist Alley. The art show is still taking place. My understanding is in the Hyatt, in that lower level of the Hyatt. So the Comic Artist Alley moved to AmericasMart on the 3rd floor, and then a couple years later, it moved to the 4th floor. Bottom line, all these changes took place because each area needed more room to grow. They needed to have more artists. They needed to have more artists. They needed to have, they wanted to have more artists there. Obviously, they wanted to sell tables, more booths to vendors, more tables to attending artists. And so that's the reason for the changes. It has had its, I think, benefits and detracts. Now, Greg, were you always, whenever you vended in Artist Alley, were you always in AmericasMart, or were you at the Hyatt as well?
Yeah, it's always been AmericasMart.
Gotcha. Now, had you been to Dragon Con before that?
No. So I also write children's books.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first started, like vending for, books and stuff, well, I think the Decatur Book Festival was like the same weekend.
Yes, it was. It was always Memorial Day weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was doing that one most of the time. So I had never been, I've dropped people off, down there, like friends who are like, hey, and I would, honestly, the traffic situation, just because, you have to be really tactical how you drive downtown during Dragon Con. So I was like, I'm never going to this thing because it was like so hard to like drive anywhere. And there was a billion people on the streets. So I hadn't done it, but mainly it was because of that. And I also, I was coaching like youth sports. So basketball, like AAU basketball and stuff, in late May is really kind of heavy. So it was like I always had stuff to do. So I really feel like it was 2018 was the first year.
Yeah. So that was that we had been we were probably on the 4th floor by then too.
Yeah, it was 4th floor. I know nothing but the 4th floor.
Nothing but the 4th floor. Yeah. Meanwhile, I've been kicked around for various in the different rooms for the last 30 years.
You don't know about those hard years when you were in areas that couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal.
There are oh man, there are pluses and minuses to just like everything in life. I guess there are pluses and minuses to having the Artist Alley be Comics Artist Alley. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that too, because I do know that the art show is also referred to as Artist Alley, and sometimes there's a little bit of ill will towards people referring to the comics group as Artist Alley, because it's not the Artist Alley, it's the Comics and Pop Artist Alley, whereas the art show as the Artist Alley. So there's a little bit of playful, I think. I don't think that's really hostile.
Except, I mean, The art show also has comic artists.
They do, but it's a different vibe. It's a different it's a different mindset. Whereas one thing I really was impressed by when it moved over to AmericasMart that first year. First of all, we had so much room. There was twice as many artists and comic book people there. It was amazing, and it really felt like it was a comic convention being held amidst this other huge convention. If you wanted to just participate, like as a comics fan, if you just wanted to participate in the comics portion, you could easily do so. I mean, you had to wait a couple hours to get in line to get in line to the AmericasMart, but once you're in, you're in.
What don't you have to line up for a Dragon Con though?
Well,
I
that's
feel
true.
like, yeah, I
That's
feel
true.
like that's at this point that's as much of a Dragon Con tradition as the app drinking game.
Absolutely. Although, to be fair, the line to get in to see the comics in Pop Artist Alley when it was in the Hyatt was never really that long.
Well, it was long when it was at the Marriott.
It could
Yeah.
be.
Every time I went to the vendor halls when it was at Marriott.
The vendor halls, yes.
Oh,
The vendor halls, yes. The
well,
artist,
well,
the
well,
artist
artist too,
alley,
'cause
not so much.
artist was because everything was there was such tight corners.
Yes. Oh, when we were all in the yes, when the bottom of the Marriott,
Yeah, the bottom.
the basement there, and that was just a hodgepodge. Everybody was mixed together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember walking down there and seeing it's for some reason put Chessex right across from Ultra Sabers. It was like, who did this?
Yeah, nobody's getting through that.
Yeah, and at that point, that was well, I don't know.
We don't need to remember a year.
15 or so years ago, that's when they had more adult content as part of that area as well. So there were
it wasn't that long because I've only been going since 2010, and I remember at least 3 years of more adult content.
Yeah. I recently spoke. I'm not going to name who it was, but I recently spoke to we'll say a horror movie actress that used to be at Dragon Con all the time. When I was going to Dragon Con, she would be there. The first 10 years I was there, she was always there. And then all of a sudden she wasn't there. And she hasn't been back since. And I asked her about that. I said, how come you're not at Dragon Con anymore? And she's like, well, they used to, at first they invited me as a guest. And then one year they just turned around and said, now you have to pay us. And because before then they were covering her airfare, her hotel. She was a guest. And she had a table and a booth and people were signing and everything. Then suddenly, and then next year, she had to pay for a table. And she was listed as a vendor. And I think that was around the time when Dragon Con wanted to sort of, let's say, clean up a little bit.
I don't know. We could almost be considered going into hearsay now.
We could.
I mean, because we can't verify that.
No.
Plus,
that's why we're unofficial, Jen.
Yeah, but also,
you're not going to hear this stuff on the official Dragon Con town hall.
We're also, we're getting a bit bogged down in history instead of talking about now. Like,
it's
Greg,
true.
How was it when you went to vend at your first Dragon Con from not even attending?
Absolutely.
Before going to vending.
So the first year was crazy. So we had, because we're from here, from Atlanta, so we had already built up. We had like a nice fan base. So there were like 2 years before we went where people were like, why are y'all not at Dragon Con? I think 2017, we were guests at another convention, and it was like we couldn't really pass that one up. So, we came in, it was 18, and it was just nuts. I don't know. Like, we're like, wow, we're making a lot of money because we have our local fans, but then we, so many new people that had never seen us before. So yeah, it was pretty nonstop. I think that first year we only had one table. So I usually travel with my co-creator on Tuskegee Years, Marcus Williams, and he's a fantastic artist, and he has
He absolutely is.
enough
Yeah.
stuff for like 3 tables on his own. And then I have like a table worth of stuff. So we were scrunched into one little table. But yeah, it was great. It wasn't our best year financially, but it's was still really really good.
And did you see Dragon Con's artist alley? Did you see differences between it and other shows that you had vended before?
Well, so just the makeup of Dragon Con is different. We do like New York Comic Con, San Diego, like so it was like a concentration. I feel like it might be a little bit harder to get into for people because it was like really high level people. Um, but it still felt the same. The Dragon Con just feels different because like most places, people don't have to wait in line to get in the show. So people are like really tactical about how they do that. I have people that are like, "I'll see you on Monday." I hope you have left because they don't want to, have to wait in
Sure.
line or whatever. And then you have the other people who they don't want to be lugging their stuff around, so they wait till they're getting ready to go to the airport on Monday, and then they come and one right there. So yeah, but so it's different. Dragon Con just feels different than any convention that that I go to, and I go to all the major like conventions. So yeah, but I guess as far as the quality of artists, it's like New York Comic Con and Emerald City and San Diego, kind of that same kind of vibe.
Mhm.
So what's your approach when you're selling? Because I've been there, and some vendors they're kind of out like carnival barkers trying to get people to come over. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Other folks just kind of chill and lay back and maybe make some eye contact and have people walk their way. What's kind of your approach to get people's attention while you're out there?
People mess with me all the time about this. I'm definitely not a carnival barker by any stretch. Um, I'm not. I'm more like if people gravitate towards or if they're looking or whatever, I'll definitely talk. If you've seen our table, we usually, we have times where we'll have a lot of people around and we talk and, like people ask, if there's any knowledge or information I can share, I'm with it. Of course, you want to make money, but I'm just not the person that's like, hey, you want to buy this? You need to buy this. I don't do suggestive selling. There's no compulsion. That's what we tell people when you come to our table. There's no compulsion. If you see something, you like it, you ask about it. We can talk about it all day, but we're just not going to be like, give me your money, give me your money, give me your money. I feel like these shows, there's so much action happening and there's this sensory overload that's already happening. So if you come to our table, it's going to be like more relaxed and calm. Um, and we try to let the product speak for itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, do you get to, because I know it's pretty long hours in the vendor hall. So when the vendor hall shuts down, are you hyped up after a day of selling, or are you like, I'm ready to go to bed because I have to get up and do this all over again in the morning? Like, do you go
As,
out and enjoy con, or?
as these grays have accumulated, I don't have the same amount of energy. But so the cool thing about Momo and Dragon Con is they're here. So I don't like there's not stress like when you're in New York at New York Comic Con and it's like, oh crap, I didn't bring enough for this book. It's gonna sell out tomorrow. I don't have to worry about that because I can always just go back home if I need to and grab more books. So it cuts down on like stress and worry that you might normally have, um, which to me, definitely impacts my energy levels. So I'll do stuff like if I'm staying. So like MomoCon, we always stay on the site. Sometimes at DragonCon, I'll just come home. Sometimes I'll get a hotel. If I have a hotel, I might go to my room and take a nap, and then get out in the streets for shenanigans. We just kind of figure, kind of play it by ear. But no, like sometimes, especially if there's something specific that you want to do, then I'm able to find the energy for it.
Now, do you usually have someone at your booth to kind of cover for you? Because I'm sure you've got to eat and step away, or is it
Yeah.
just kind of a one-man show when you're there?
So, we do panels, basically whatever they ask us to do. So, Marcus and we always are there for Dragon Con and Momo. I'm lucky my brother, he comes to those as well. And so he can fill in, if there's anybody needs to leave or if anybody's late. I'm not saying that I've been late before, but it could be possible. So yeah, we definitely try to have support. And then I'll have like just some like friends that come, they're not volunteers or anything. They come for the con, but they still are like, if you need anything, let me know. If you need somebody to sit, if you need food, whatever. So it's really good. The community is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a well-run room, I think.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the work that Jamie Reeves and the staff do. I think they always are there. There's always someone there too. You don't have to look around very hard if you're trying to find somebody to talk to about, like as far as the staff goes. They're just always there, and that's cool because I've certainly been to conventions where that's not the case. And now, do you guys have does your booth have a pretty elaborate setup? Are you able to do more since you're local and you don't have to travel with a bunch of more stuff, or is it pretty much the same setup you have as the other shows?
Pretty much the same. We can bring some more knickknacks like shirts and coffee mugs. And
absolutely, yes.
Other stuff.
Some more merch.
We figure ways to take a lot of stuff when we fly to these shows. So people are like, "How'd y'all get all this?" And we're like, "Shh." Yeah. We might step across a line or two every once in a while. But the point is, we bring a lot. But here you can bring just literally, you can have some of everything that you have. So the setup is pretty much the same. It's just way more stuff, and it's really hard for us to sell out anything because, like I said, we can just drive up 85 and go get the stuff.
Yeah, no, that is I found that too, and that's why I have a little bit more of an elaborate table at Dragon Con than I do at other shows. For example, I used to have this huge like tiki hut roof that I used to bring at Dragon Con, and I could never bring that to any other state because it's just there's no way you can put that on a plane or however. So so it was always nice to kind of have that, and that made it my home show. I could do a little bit more for the show that's in my backyard.
Yeah.
So and yes, yeah, you don't have to worry about restocking because you always have that. Even though I'm staying there, I have a hotel because ever since I started vending there, I can't just go back and forth from Lawrenceville to the show. I just can't. I just have to. I have to stay down there because
that would be too much stress on any human being.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Like as I've gotten older, before I used to just finish up with my table and then I go out. We have something to eat, and then we go out and do stuff all night and everything like that, and then get up the next day, roll her out of bed, go to the table, do it again the next day. Now it's like as soon as the dealer room is closed, I'm like, I'm just gonna go to my hotel and go to bed.
So Greg, I know I'm guessing you don't really have any control over where you're put and who your neighbors are, but do you usually prefer being next to other comic book people, or would you rather be next to vendors who are selling t-shirts and lightsabers?
So we're always in the artist, like on the fourth floor, and Marcus and I will our tables will be next to each other. So I know I'll be at least next to my business partner. We don't mind being put anywhere, but typically on the fourth floor, it's pretty much comics posters and, you know, kind of in that same thing, in that same vein. So, but we're okay. You can put us anywhere. We're gonna try to make it happen.
Just happy to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for other people out there, like maybe there's some upcoming writers or comic artists, would you say, or how would you say the process is for getting to be a vendor or artist at DragonCon? Like, is it straightforward as other conventions? Is it a slightly different process? Or
I mean, it's similar. I think their application process is a little bit more elaborate than most, you know, most people, most conventions that I've attended. I know it's difficult, like, to get in. I hear, you know, I have people all the time like, man, I tried to get in and I couldn't get in a Dragon Con. Can you talk and help me? And I'm like, I'm not there yet. Maybe one day. But right now I don't have any I don't have like a lot of power or anything at Dragon Con. But yeah, it's the process is a little bit different. I don't say it's like good or bad. You know, I fill out the applications and, you know, see what happens from there. But it's a little bit different. They're really communicative though, and I appreciate that. Jamie is the man. So it's like he's been fun to get to know and get to work with, and like Mike said, like very, very thorough. Like there's not a lot of things popping up at the last second. You know, at Dragon Con, it's pretty much a fine oiled machine.
Yeah,
Just like this podcast.
Sure. The you mentioned that the crowds at DragonCon are different from, you know, some of the bigger and not so big comic shows. And yeah, because I've done those too in New York and San Diego and all that. I find that DragonCon has less people who are comic book oriented. So there's a lot of people that are new to comics, that are not as familiar with comics, and it's in answering those kind of questions, which is fine. I think it's great. It's a new audience, even though it's local to me. It seems like it's a new crowd because these people don't usually read comics. I think. Do you find that? Do you find that as well with this group? I mean, the people who go to New York, certainly Heroes in Charlotte, or even San Diego, to an extent. The people who seek out Artist Alley, like they know comics, right?
So I definitely feel what you're saying. There was a couple years ago. All these years get blurry, but Chris Claremont was like sitting a few tables down, and this year was the year where we did like the Fox interview in the hotel, and so it was like crazy, like the amount of people that were coming up there just to see us. And I'm like telling them, and then there's Chris Claremont right here, and they're like, "Who?" So yeah, I can see that there are some really, you know, solid, knowledgeable comic book people that come through, but I guess if you're looking like at the ratio, like when you come to Artist Alley at New York Comic Con, it's like you're looking for, you know, like a lot of people are specifically looking for, you know, different comic people. So I can see that. I never really thought about it until now, but that sounds legit.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of. I mean, I'm not big enough that I get a lot of destination, like people. I'm not their destination. When people come, you know, to Artist Alley, they don't make a beeline to my table. But so I get a lot of people. Like I get a lot of traffic. And so my goal is to try to attract that traffic. It's not Carnival Bark, but also, you know, but I find that with other shows, it's there's a lot more people that seem it's more of a destination, and there's a lot less like walk by traffic.
But and that's one of the things that makes DragonCon so cool, though, is because it's like there you have these open-minded people who,
yes,
you know, they're walking around and they're like, "Oh, I want that," I need this, you know, and it might not be their typical, you know, something that they normally would get. So I think that makes it unique. DragonCon is just so much different than any convention that I've
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah, it's really hard to compare it to anything else. But I will say I learned a lot more about independent comics at Dragon Con. You know, I've always known about the big two, but it wasn't until I really started going to Dragon Con, just kind of going through the vendor areas, I would just see some just different. I actually think that's when I first heard about Tuskegee Airs, just walking through the vendor
Hmm.
hall one day. Um, so yeah, even if you're not big into comics, or heck, if you are big into comics, it is a good way to kind of stumble across some that you may not have seen otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I also think they've just done, I think that um, Jamie's done an incredible job building a great community of of artists that are there every year. I mean, Greg, you've been there for the last few years, right?
Yeah.
As well as I've been there for the last few years as well, as well as introducing new, guests and new people to come in to sort of like add some excitement. And it's a lot more diverse than it used to be as well. It's a lot more diverse, which I think is a credit to them too. I think that yeah, it just there's so many different kinds of comics represented and art represented from a lot of different kinds of folks, and I just think that's great too.
Yeah.
Do you now you mentioned the panels? Do you like doing panels?
Oh, I love doing panels. I had a great panel last year with Mr. Sherman down there. Um, that was really fun. But yeah, I love doing panels, especially when it's stuff that I know something about. If it's something I'm not, I'm like, hey, I'm not really into, this fandom or something. But if it's stuff that I'm, that I like to talk about, then yeah, I'm there for all the panels.
Yeah, Greg has a surprising amount of knowledge on cringeworthy and questionable comic book characters and moments. Yeah, he's got a surprising amount of knowledge there. If we bring that one back, I may have to call you into service again.
I'll be there.
Is there
You were
a is there a specific panel or topic that you would love to do at DragonCon?
Um, so let me see. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of open. I do with one of my friends. He hasn't been to DragonCon yet, but we do. His name is Greg. Also, we do a like writing comics thing. That's pretty fun. I would love to do that one at DragonCon because it's a kind of thing. You know how when you have good chemistry with somebody, even though our approaches to writing are like night and day, but like the panel turns out to be really good when we do it. So we're gonna be doing one at MomoCon Saturday night.
Well, we'll plug it. MomoCon is the sister con of DragonCon, so let
I
people
didn't
know.
I didn't know.
shoot,
Yeah,
shoot your
it's
shot, man. Shoot your shot.
something. I think it's something writing comics with Greg and Greg. I can find it on my phone real quick.
Well, while he's looking that up, I just wanted to briefly bring up. I know in the past on our previous episodes of the show when we have talked about vending at con, myself and I think other people have mentioned that we thought there was a wait list to get in, because I have been told that, and I just want to bring up that I have been corrected, and there is. So I was given bad information. There is not a wait list for at least the vending side. I can't speak to Artist Alley. I would assume Artist Alley is juried, like a lot of Artist Alleys, but I don't know for sure. But as far as vending, everyone applies every year, and they go through the application phase every year, so everyone has an equal chance of getting in. So
Absolutely. And I do know that Jamie does go to, and his staff Tony as well, who does the programming there for the comics. I do know that they go to different conventions throughout the year and talk to artists and try to recruit
Yeah,
different
I saw them
personalities.
at Emerald City this year.
Oh wow! I didn't know they went coast to coast.
Yeah. Like he walked
Yeah.
up. I was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "What are you doing here?"
They're out there traveling like college coaches looking at high school players. I like that.
Has there been anybody at any of the guests that are comic related that have been to Dragon Con that you've encountered and had really that do you geek out in front of other creators?
So Stan Lee was there.
He goes for the big one.
Yeah.
Well, he was there, and it was the year when it was really cold up there. It was so cold that Stan told them, "If y'all don't fix it, I'm not coming back tomorrow." I didn't get to talk to him because he had 9 million people in his line at all times.
Yeah.
But I did get to stand from afar, like those, things where the guys on the other side of the road and just stare and fixate on one of my heroes. So that was cool. Last year, so I'm a fan of Jay Lee, the artist.
Oh yeah.
I walked up to him, and so the DC Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun book was coming out like the next month. And so I walked up and I was like, "Hi, I know you probably don't know who I am, but I got a story in this book, and you're doing one of the covers." And he was like super cool. But the crazy thing is, for the most part, I meet these guys like all over the country. So it's like we were in San Diego, and we were splitting like this big booth with this guy, and he had Louise Simonson come and sign books for like 2 hours. So she's sitting like right next to me, like her arm keeps bumping. She's like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "No, you're good. Bump away, bump away. Do you know who you are?"
Literally rubbing elbows with somebody.
Yeah.
It's starting to sound like a rom-com, man.
Right. At the when I was in the DC Comics Milestone Initiative, I got to meet Jim Lee and Dennis Cowan. It's like, so I'm so used to being around them. I don't think I go crazy, but I do, definitely still on the inside, I'm geeking out.
Do you think for artists that are up and coming, independent, do you feel like Dragon Con, the Artist Alley area, the Comic and Pop Artist Alley area experience offers opportunities to network?
I think with some of the shows, like some of the bigger ones, a lot of the networking is going to have to be done unless you're like sitting right next to somebody. A lot of your networking is going to be done, before or after hours, because it gets so busy, and like you might not have a chance, you might not have a minute or a break to really sit and talk to somebody. And then if you do get a break, sometimes you want to just be quiet and so
enjoy the downtime, right?
Yeah. But as an attendee, yes. When you because we do it, like people come to our tables and they're like, "Hey, can you look at this portfolio?" Yes. Can you do this? So we meet a lot of people that you could end up doing some kind of business with. So definitely for attendees, and you can try to stretch it. I just know that usually by the middle of Sunday, your voice is going to be, it's leaving your body. So yeah, it's like you want to rest. The year that we did the Fox interview, I don't know what happened, but by like Saturday night, I had signed so many autographs that my wrist had like a little knot, and I couldn't perform my signature. Like I had to stop. Remember when you were a kid and you were learning how to write? I had to do that with my signature. It was crazy. So.
That sounds like a good problem to have.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So did you start bringing just a rubber stamp after that happened?
I've thought about it. I just don't know. if you do it in people's face, they might be like, "Hey."
I want the full experience.
So for our live video viewers out there, did you find the panel information for MomoCon?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I didn't forget it.
Oh, we'll let you. We'll remind you.
It's writing comics with Greg and Greg. It's at 7:00, and this doesn't have the room number on there, but it's in there.
You know, MomoCon's such a small place. I'm sure that people find it no problem.
I wish it was small.
It is,
you know,
man. They take over that, like, it seems like half of the Georgia World Congress Center, which is a pretty big place.
Right.
And then, you know, moving into the new room, it means you gotta, you know, sometimes you have to go further to get to panels and stuff. It's not as bad as Dragon Con. Like at Dragon Con, there's times where you have to leave like an hour and a half before your panel starts.
Yes.
You know, leave your table. So it's not that bad, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. I know it is frustrating for people who are attendees to go to some of the panels that take place on the 4th floor because they have to wait in line. Although that there's ways to work around that now, which they introduced last year, where you can get a QR code and you can be let in if you're going to a panel. So that's really nice. But for us artists, like to just walk over to our panel room is so nice and not have to leave and go to a different hotel or anything. Some of them are in hotels and stuff like that too, but they have like 2 track room right there where most of the programming takes place. So you're just, you know, always a hop, skip, and a jump away from going to your panel and to your table and back. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
Now, Greg, you mentioned your table. I have to ask you to talk about how since you're in Atlanta, you can bring more stuff and get some other swag items. You got anything good planned for this year?
Yeah, but I'm not able to talk about it just yet. But
and now, is this specifically for Dragon Con, or is just it's something you got planned on?
So we're trying to do something specifically for Dragon Con.
Nice.
We have something that we're rolling out at Momo on Friday. That's going to be kind of crazy, but yeah, I want to try to have a couple of exclusive things for Dragon.
When I make my production schedule for the year, Dragon Con is one of the biggest goals for me. It's one of the biggest things that I look for. Is that true for you guys too? Like, is Dragon Con a definite we need to make sure that we're producing this in time for this, or we have this? Because it's not just something that you can show up for 2 weeks before. You got to plan months in advance, right?
Yeah, definitely. So because Dragon Con and New York Comic Con are relatively close, they seem to be drifting further apart. But the mind state is, yes, definitely to always have something new for Dragon. And then hopefully we still have some left for New York. But we're also like that. So our summer gauntlet gets crazy because we MomoCon, Heroes Con, we're doing Brooklyn again. But then July is DreamCon and BlurredCon, which are 2 huge ones for us. And then, Dragon. I'm actually co-hosting a convention in Norfolk, Virginia.
Wow.
The 17th and 18th of August. So that gives me a week to prepare for Dragon. So I definitely have to have stuff way ahead of time.
Yeah. It's a lot of, it's not just something, I mean, just everybody's, a lot of people have their cosplay that they do all year round. I mean, for me, it's just I got to try to figure out what books I'm going to have and what products I'm going to have for Dragon Con. And I have to make sure that's when the calendar switched over and I was like, oh, I've got less than 100 days. I'm like, oh man.
And you get yelled at. Fans will yell at you yes. Hey, what's going on? Where's the new book?
Yes.
And so whether it's Tuskegee Years or the Search for Sadaka, some of the series. So, you definitely want to be able to, because there's people, for whatever reason, they won't buy on the website it's like they want to buy it from you at Dragon Con. These are the rules. Have your Sharpie ready. So it's like we just, I'm like, you could get the. Yeah, no, I'm not doing all of that. This is the tradition. We're gonna come here and buy it from you. So
awesome. So the plan is that you're definitely at Dragon Con this year, and with Marcus, right?
Yes.
And and you guys should have something, fingers crossed, exclusive for Dragon Con this year.
And when you get it figured out, you're gonna come back on the show and announce it here first.
I mean, that's not a bad idea. I'm
Just throwing it out there.
Hey, open invitation.
I'm okay with that.
Open invitation.
Well, thanks so much, Greg, for coming on and spending some time with us and telling us a bit about your experience in Artist Alley.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to plug to the folks out there before we get out of here, or where can people find you on social media if they want to chat?
So you can find me under Tuskegee Years. Marcus and I, we run those pages on Facebook, Instagram. I think we still have one on Twitter or whatever it's called now, but we don't really.
I think most of us are that. Yeah, none of us really.
It's there, but we're not really using it. Yeah.
And then like Greg, Greg_Burnham7 on Instagram, and just Greg Burnham on Facebook.
Well, we will have links to all those in our show notes and link you on all of our promotions when we're going forward. So awesome. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us all about your adventures in the AmericasMart.
Yes.
So work the title in.
Brought it right back around. That's why he's a professional.
So now we draw a close to this episode of the 2024 Dragon Con Report. A big shout out to our station crew. Thank you, Channing, of course.
Always a pleasure. Greg, hope to catch you again at the next convention. And
you gotta just like walk away like you did last weekend.
Hey man, you were Greg was making money in New Orleans. I didn't want to interrupt, but I did get a photo of it. But, yeah.
And then I looked back down, I looked up again, he's gone. I'm like, really? How do we do it? Okay.
Next time I'll at least give a shout. How about that?
I saw you, so we're good.
Yeah.
Channing, do you have any other conventions or appearances or podcasts coming up that you want to promote?
Ooh, Lord. So I launched my new podcast a couple of months ago, still going strong. Look for me. It's the Smarty Art Brother, wherever you get fine to semi-okay podcast. So that's my big one. I just got back from my first BlurredCon in New Orleans.
Blurred Fest.
Sorry, thank you. Yes, good save, because BlurredCon's a whole different one. Blurred Fest in New Orleans. It's a smaller con, but it was a lot of fun. Moderated a video gaming panel there. We'll definitely be back next year. And I will be at some others if my budget allows. That's the beauty of being married. You have to, think about your money in terms of we as opposed to I. So I gotta think about that. Yeah, and always look for my group, Black Geeks Dragon Con. It's not a protest, it's the party. We're promoting diversity at Dragon Con and apparently now at Blurred Fest and SifaCon and several other cons now. So we're expanding.
Awesome. And Jen, thank you so much for working your magic on both sides of the webcam.
Trying to get better at it each month.
And you're keeping us on schedule, so I love it.
Cracking the whip.
Where can people find you online?
Well, first off, just want to apologize to our viewers and listeners out there. We did have Bobby Nash scheduled, but we had some technical difficulties and weren't able to get that fixed. So hopefully we'll have him on as a guest in the future. And do want to remind all of our wrestling fans, please tune in next month, because we will, if we've been wanting to get them on for a few years, we're going to have some folks involved with DCW on the show. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to chat with me in the meantime, you can find me in the Dragon Con Parties, Meetups, and More group, where we, at some point, I will have a calendar for some parties, both unofficial and official meetups, concerts. I will help you get through the app a little bit quicker than doing it on your own, as well as some things that maybe don't get put on the app, but are still a lot of fun to do at con. And you can also find me on Instagram at a little bit odd. And if you're one of the ESO Network patron subscribers, you can also find me there monthly, not only doing a bad reading of the guest list, but you can find me on the ESO Board Silly patron exclusive podcast as well.
Absolutely. Great work there.
And you, Mike?
And me, yes. Thank you so much. Of course, Earth Station 1 is still on hiatus. So, but I have found a couple of other different podcasts to fill the gap. I'm still on Earth Station Who, and now that there's new episodes of Doctor Who on every week, we are reviewing all the new episodes when they come out, and that is Mike Faber and Mary Ogle and myself, as well as special guests. So tune in for that if you're a Doctor Who fan. If you are a Batman fan, particularly of the 66 series, I have just started a new podcast with the host one of the co-hosts of the Earth Station DCU podcast, Drew Leiter, and we are reviewing and recapping every single episode in order of the Batman 60 series. The podcast is called Bat Chums, and I think we released our 4th or 5th episode this week, depending on when you're listening, watching this. And it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of, it went 3 seasons, so we've got a lot of episodes to cover ahead of us. But the show is one of it's ever since when I was a kid, it's been one of my favorite shows to watch. So, and watching it and recapping it with a set of new eyes with Drew has just been really, really fun to do. So that you can find on YouTube, as well as where you can find all audio podcasts. And then, of course, if you want to find out about all my books and everything else I'm working on, just follow me on Instagram or Facebook, New Legend Mike, as well as you can go to the website, newlegendmike.com, and view my LinkedIn or my link tree. I think do we all have link trees now? I thought that was a thing. No. Okay, maybe just me. So anyway, we try to cover all we can with these episodes here at the Dragon Con Report, but to keep up with the latest news, please check out the official Dragon Con website, all their social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, Discord. All the fan tracks are active on social media as well, so check them out. We are a proud member of the ESO Network. We have a cool TeePublic store filled with all kinds of cool stuff, including a very neat design for the Dragon Con Report podcast. There's a link for that in this episode's show notes and at the top of the ESO Network page. We also have a patron, as Jen mentioned, and please support us there. We thank you all for your support. We really do appreciate it. And whether you're watching or listening to us, please also, you can support the show for free with a like, share, subscribe. If you want to leave us direct feedback, please do so at feedback@dragonconreport.com. And thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Mike Gordon. And as always, it's been my pleasure. Take care, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you all at the con.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Dragon Con Report. Whether you're a longtime fan or joined us for the first time, we hope you've gained some valuable insights and tips to make your Dragon Con experience unforgettable. Don't forget to stay connected for more updates and future episodes. Until next time, keep learning, keep planning, and keep the con spirit alive.
You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.